a wonderful business partner of ours, has sourced us a original 440 crank forged, as well as original 440 rods that we are going to be using for our stroker Mopar project for Katrina Bell, also known as 73 Charger Chick. Pretty neat little process. We're going to be dropping this rotating assembly into a B Series 400 block, not known for much power, not known for performance in any way, but with the rods and pistons and crank, we should be coming out right in the neighborhood of about 451 cubic inches. Reasonably popular modifications for these later generation big block Mopars. Pretty cool process. So we're on our way up to Mike's, and one of the things about business, and this is not talked about nearly enough, but in order to be able to accomplish what you need to accomplish in business, you almost always need to have quality business partners. Fortunately for us, we have a very wonderful relationship with several different machine shops in the area. You've seen some of what we've shot at Performance Research with Joe and Bob and Rob over there. Mike is another excellent machinist. He's up in Delaware, Ohio, and he does a lot of classic build stuff. Mike is one of those guys that has all kinds of connections. So we reached out to him and asked if he happened to know anybody who would have a 440 crank and rods, and lo and behold, he did. So he is offset grind this crank for us. He got us our rods already bushed and ready to rock and roll, and our new set of pistons are there. So, like I said, without quality business partners, it's almost impossible to do what we do. Doing this all for our YouTube stuff, so. Come back with the pistons. Okay. What pistons are these?
These are icons.
Icons.
Full right now.
Yeah. Crank, rods, pistons, bearings, rings, all that stuff picked up from Mike. Once again, thanks very much, Mike, for everything you did for me and getting it done on such a quick timetable. I know normally speaking this is not how quickly things go together, but in this case, we're up against the clock. So, we are now on our way over to Performance Research to go see Joe, who has our heads and our Mopar 400 block, and we're going to drop off all this rotating assembly so we can start getting the short block machined and ready to go. And yeah, then once we get that stuff done, time for assembly.
Welcome.
What an excellent work truck.
I thought you were going to show up in a box truck or something.
Not today. Got some Mopar parts, baby.
In the back of a Pontiac?
Yeah.
Well, would you look at that?
Look at that. That's a work truck in style. So we are back at Performance Research. This is Joe Coben. He's one of our master engine builders over here at Performance Research, and he's going to be the one that helps get us with our 451 Mopar stroker kit for the 73 Charger Chick 1973 Charger. This is going to be our 440 crank that Mike sourced us. He also happened to find us some 440 original rods, so time to start working on our Mopar stroker kit. I know this is a little bit different than what you normally do, but we're going to make it work.
So when Austin says stroker kit, this is the poor man's stroker kit. We're using factory parts in a factory block. Now, Austin already said that these are factory 440 rods, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is a factory 440 crankshaft. You can't see it, but we're using a 400 block. So this crankshaft, the mains on the crankshaft have been turned down to standard shaft size for a 400, which is smaller than what a 440 would have been. And then the rods have been turned 10 under standard meaning 10 thousandths smaller than they were originally, just to clean it up because there was wear. So as these are factory rods, they have been reconditioned with new bolts. They've also been balanced. You can see these grind marks here. From the factory, they just look like that. You grind on these to make the big end, is what we call it, lighter. The idea is that you're trying to get not only all the rods the same weight, but the weight of the big end and the pin end also the same across all 8 of them. They never are from the factory. Attached to these, Austin got some Icon forged pistons. That's what you see here. These are floating pin, which I don't believe the factory used.
I don't believe so, no.
So,
And
better
this
than
is-
what you would have gotten.
So this is kind of a low budget build, sort of. We're trying to use as many factory parts as possible. So we have a factory 440 crank, we have factory rods. Now this is something that you're probably not going to see many people do anymore. The cost effective and smart way to do this would be just buy a Eagle stroker kit or Scat stroker kit or whoever and just do the whole kit instead of having to reuse and pay the machining bills to get this stuff upgraded and redone. At the end of the day, we're really not going to save much of any money, but this is the direction we wanted to go. Plus, if you've seen any of the other videos that Joe and I have done in the past, we do have a little bit of a cast iron big block power build going on here. So we've run the Olds 455, we've run a Chevy 454, we've run my Pontiac 455, and then we're going to run, at the end of all this, Katrina's 451 cubic inch Mopar.
All iron-headed big blocks. Nothing special, low compression, street motors.
Right.
Hello, boys. My ears were itching.
Well, hello. Welcome
Hi.
back, Miss Katrina. All right, so we were just talking about your build and getting everything written up here. Joe, you've already got our Mopar heads already worked, right?
Parking seats, guides, valve job, lots of bowl blending.
So we're going a little aggressive, but nothing crazy. They're still old school stock
About similar to what we did with your Pontiac.
valve size.
Stock valve size, yep. Yeah, just sweetened them up and fixed what needed to be fixed.
So
we can't use the seats that were in the heads because we're using today's pump gas, which doesn't have lead in it. So it's a requirement that we replace the exhaust seats to a harder material. So we had to do that. But
So your car, we're really going for more of a, I guess you would call almost a street fighter kind of car, right? So we're not, you don't want a race car, you're not looking for anything crazy. This is just going to be kind of fun to go to car shows and occasionally go to the track.
Yes, I still want to be able to drive it on the road without having to be super aggressive and still be able to kind of burn some rubber on the racetrack.
Yeah.
it's got to be fun to drive on the street.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
If anyone's ever driven a full race car on the street, it gets old after a while.
right. It sounds cool, it looks cool, you hate driving it. We want to be able to get your hot rod to go get ice cream. As far as what we're building here, we're going to build a 451 cubic inch Mopar, 440 crank, 440 rods, Icon forged pistons, factory cast iron Mopar heads,
And a 400 block.
and a 1976 400 block.
Why didn't we just build a 440? Why are we using a 400 block? Well, a 400 block has much thicker cylinder walls, which makes it a desirable block, with still keeping the same high deck height, and a small main journal diameter, which is better for oiling.
And the 440 blocks are A, bigger, they don't fit in as many spots. They're also way more expensive to get our hands on. As you guys saw in episode 1, when she and I tore that motor down, we bought that entire motor carb to pan with a transmission on the back of it for $180. And it was a
And an
Virgin
extra set of heads.
and an extra set of heads, right. So we got essentially everything we possibly could need for $180 without the rotating assembly. The rotating assembly did cost us some money. We had to find somebody who could find one of these. It's getting a little bit harder and harder to find a 440 crank and rods, but essentially speaking, this is a great low budget build, and it'll go right back in exactly the same spot that the 400 that's in it now.
Plug and play.
At least that's the idea. So this is also going to be running your Sniper EFI fuel injection system.
Yes.
It's
I'm
going to be,
excited for that.
yeah.
I'm excited for that.
We're going to run a set of long tube headers on it, but nothing crazy, like 9.5 to 1 compression, and see what she makes. So we're not going to go through a whole lot of the specifics and the deep dive on the video here as far as the machining process goes. That you will have to jump over through this link and go over to Performance Research's page, and you will be able to see all of the machining process for this. Now the crank and the rods have already been machined. There's nothing to show you for that, but we will show you the block machining, how that whole process goes, the final assembly, and then at the end of this whole thing, we will do a dyno run for you. So stay tuned for all that fun. With the engine components now dropped over at Performance Research, Joe's got a little bit of time involved in machining and getting the assembly ready to go before we throw everything together. So we've got the Mopar back over here. We're going to go ahead and do the next phase of work, which is going to be transmission upgrade. The 727 torque flight that's in that car is not bad, but it's designed for more of a street usage. It's not designed for anything heavy duty. So we're going to replace the transmission that's in that with a TCI Street Fighter unit, much more designed for the abuse that we're probably going to see this car make. So that's going to be the next episode. Make sure you click on subscribe, give us a like, drop us a comment, let us know how you like this so far, and remember to stay up to date on Mama's Mopar's build. For now, time to move on to another project. 67. For now, time to move on to another project for a little bit. We've got a 67 Pontiac Firebird convertible that needs a little bit of loving, a little bit of exhaust work, and some other things. So maybe you'll see a new episode of this here coming soon. Thanks for watching.